Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Saturday and welcome back for another jam-packed daily market update. We're going to be rather light on the news in this update. A lot has came out for the cryptocurrency space last week and we've covered it throughout the week. Really what I want to do in this one is perhaps offer some reassurance in regards to where the cryptocurrency space is going. And we're going to do that through the lens of the total cryptocurrency market cap and the total 2 predominantly, but what we're looking at on total 2 applies to total 3 and others. And then we have a whole load of confluence in regards to what we're expecting for these to play out, being total and total 2, on the back end of how altcoins are positioned, how crypto ETPs are positioned, miners, Bitcoin, etc., etc., etc. When it walketh, talketh, and quacketh like a duck, it's a duck, ladies and gentlemen. So this is going to be an interesting video. It's going to be very heavily technical, but it's going to offer you a sound sleep. It's going to offer you some perhaps reassurance in regards to where I personally believe the cryptocurrency space is going, and technically what I'm looking at that sees that come to fruition. Now, the market sold off slightly yesterday. There is kind of rumors or perhaps the possibility that this has something to do with the tariffs that are going into effect today on Canada and Mexico. Whenever I bring up tariffs, it's always a very sensitive debate, and I think rightfully so. I think it's good things for people to have a strong opinion. The problem is, it's not what people know, it's what they know that isn't so that's the problem. So we'll see how this progresses. The US is on this really interesting venture into a kind of new economic and growth outlook and kind of strategy that I'm sure over this year we're going to see play out. But we'll leave that there. We don't really want to cover too much news. Bitcoin, you guys all know the drill in regards to where we believe Bitcoin's going. We ultimately think we now have a target of 306,000. We've got a concession of targets that ultimately take to the 150k range, whether that's this inverse head and shoulders or it's this bull flag. Our first bull flag target was met, and you're actually consolidating in and around there in a range-like fashion. That it's my personal opinion, you're going to break to the upside of. And I think that's going to coincide with what we're going to look at with the total market cap pushing on higher and embarking on that journey into continued price discovery, and the total 2, total 3, others, which represents the space really outside of Bitcoin, actually embarking on a new all-time high journey and what I've seen so many charts do previously, which we'll show you in this video. So before we get into all of that, Bitcoin very much just range bound. I do think it'll push above it eventually. Whether the tariff announcement had anything to do with anything is still to be seen. Let's take a look at how February is in terms of a performing month. It is the 3rd most performant month for Bitcoin in the whole of the year. Typically February and March and April are good months. Of course, the 2 most bullish months would be October being the 2nd most bullish month and November being the 1st. But of course, February is the 3rd most bullish month. So we're expecting it or things to do rather well. I think that coincides with Bitcoin pushing up out of that range. I think we could go even deeper into that on the macro in regards to what the dollar's likely to do. We'll have a lot of data coming out this week in regards to non-farm payrolls, etc., etc. We can kind of piece it all together. And we do that every Sunday with our Patrons. It's Sunday tomorrow. Do join the Patreon. New month, new you guys. Take your step in this space one step further, or take your position in this space one step further and get on board with a great community of people all working towards one endeavor. And of course, you'll get 8 weekly meetings or monthly meetings with me, including unlocking my portfolio, buys and sells, and everything else. We've got some amazing positions we think are going to do well. But let's talk about the space. So February could be an exceptional month. We sort of looked at Bitcoin, but I want to focus on the total cryptocurrency market cap and where it's at and where it's going. So straight off the bat, we've got technical targets. First of all, via this bull flag that takes you to $5 trillion. And we've also got a potential cup and handle taking you to 10 trillion. And I think that's more than achievable. I think we could even cross-analyze that and look at Bitcoin dominance coming to 40%. Its price may be getting to 300, 6 trillion. Okay, well, if it's only 40%, then you've got 7, 8 trillion in the altcoin sector, getting it to over 10 trillion. You could also use things like stablecoin. I've done all of this and done technical work on it. You could also use things like tether dominance. Sits at $130 billion. Okay, well, if we think that's coming down to 1% of the overall market, then you've got $13 billion elsewhere outside of tether. That gets the space to over 10 trillion also. So it's interesting that we've also got potentially a technical target that sees the crypto market get to over $10 trillion. Fundamentally, we could say, okay, well, very interestingly, we've got all the ETF news, et cetera, et cetera. We've got this great fundamental story of this space now being embraced and invested in. But really what I want to focus on more than these technical targets is just how charts will proceed into new all-time highs. And you'll get one of two things. So typically you'll get a break of the all-time high and then a retest of it. So this is a basic resistance into support flip, resistance being your prior all-time high. You've now flipped it into support. If you look at how the total cryptocurrency market cap is supporting here, this is getting ready to push off and see that continuation. I'm going to show you a few examples now. So Nvidia is a great one. I do think Nvidia will continue on its upward trajectory eventually. Obviously, it got thrown. There was a bit of a wobbler thrown into the markets or the mix, obviously on the back end of DeepSeek and that announcement. And I think there's some real positives to all of that. Anyway, we're focusing on this over here and how markets will take a high. Okay, so typically they'll put a toe above it or they'll run through it and then they'll consolidate. But the important thing is they've now entered price discovery and you likely get continuation within price discovery. And you can see once this broke, it consolidated for a period and then continued higher. And this is very much what I'm suggesting is on the cards for the total cryptocurrency market cap and thus the crypto space at large, you know, your altcoins, Bitcoin, etc. Let's look at another example. This is Exxon Enterprises. Again, this is your sort of entering into price discovery. You put a toe above it, you consolidate, and then you continue to the upside into price discovery. Price discovery has only just started for the total cryptocurrency market cap. Let's take a look at Broadcom. Again, you break out, you consolidate, and then you push higher into price discovery. Much higher in the case of Broadcom, by the way. It's been one of the best performing stocks, certainly over the past couple of years, that most people don't know about. And this is ultimately what we're suggesting is to come for the total cryptocurrency market cap. And of course, your altcoins, everything is involved in that. We've got this great run ahead of us. And of course, I think fundamentally a brilliant story to support it. And when we look at the total too, this hasn't quite broken out yet, but it will. It's ran into its all-time high resistance, which is actions resistance. It's pulled back, which we've shown you hundreds of examples for. We were looking at it for Bitcoin in its bull flag. You can see all-time high, run, pull back, continuation. Again, we've got the DAX here, all-time high, run into pull back, continuation. This even paused in the similar manner to what Bitcoin or the total market cap is doing. Remember, we're looking at total 2 now. That hasn't quite cleared all-time highs, but this is very kind of total crypto market cap-esque, isn't it? If we go back and you can see very likely what's to come for it. And again, remember, we've got those technical targets that gets it there. We've got technical targets to the upside for altcoins, Bitcoin miners, ETPs. When it walketh, talketh, and quacketh like a duck, it's a duck. So going back to the total, it's just ran into highs and pulling back. And Microsoft, another good example, ran into highs, pulled back, and then went on that broader continuation. That's what's to come for the total cryptocurrency market cap. We've spoken about what's to come for the total 2 and total cryptocurrency market cap. When we look at the likes of total 3, very much a similar story. You just ran into all-time highs. When we look at others, very much a similar story. You can look at ETPs. We've got higher targets for these. You can look at everything. And I think we've got this sensational journey ahead of us as it relates to the cryptocurrency space. And I really wanted to get this video out because there's always frustration. There's always uncertainty. There's always fear when it comes to crypto, certainly when things don't happen instantly. But that's the power of being a technical analyst. You put on the armor of technical analysis and you'll have a broader plan regardless of what any of the news is. Or a better understanding of where things are going through using the charts. And we're at this kind of very critical nature or this conjunction right now where the total market cap has just broken into all-time highs and is consolidating in and around it. It's retesting its support. You're going to spring off of that and see that continuation. The total 2, total 3 and others has ran into all-time highs. It's pulling back very common. We've shown you a few examples. We can show you hundreds. And that will ultimately embark on that price discovery journey. And then when you look at altcoins, certainly the big ones, XRP, XLM, some of these other coins, they've just had their initial rally. The altcoins are just waking up, guys. And we've got this really broad journey ahead of us. And of course, fundamentally, we could derive a million and one reasons as to why that's going to take place. This really is truly a transformational technological innovation. And it is going to fundamentally change the entire financial system. And I think we've been saying that for years, and it's becoming or being taken more and more seriously, because now it's not just us saying it. It's all the largest and biggest financial institutions in the world. And there's a great opportunity to make money in all of this. Remember, nothing I say or do here is financial advice. You want to invest in crypto, do that at your own risk. Whether you win, lose, or draw, that's your own responsibility. So yeah, just to sort of summarize, February is typically a good month. We're expecting that. Certainly altcoins, there's a lot of continuation patterns after their initiatory move that sees that continuation take place. We'll see if the kind of dollar and how that plays out. Well, I'll stay away from that for this video. But when we analyze the space as a whole through the lens of the total market caps, we've seen this before. We know how this story plays out, and we've ultimately got this continuation into price discovery ahead of us. We've got technical targets that confirm all of this, looking at the various components that make up the total market cap, etc., etc., etc. That's it from me, guys. I hope this was a useful and informative video, reassuring if nothing else, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon.